there's one thing that truly unites all Americans, it's that everyone hates paying more for stuff. That is why, when inflation sent the price of everyday goods soaring in the wake of the pandemic, you saw it reflected in poll after poll after poll. People's view of the economy plummeted. So did their approval of the president. In fact, this happened basically across the Western world. It was everyone's first taste of real sharp inflation in a generation. And guess what? People really hated it, which is, of course, completely understandable because, well, it really, really sucked. In 2020, your average family of four paid about $927 a month for groceries. At the height of inflation in 2022, the average was $1,307 a month. That's $400 more a month. Now, that has started to come down, actually, in real terms. The average at the end of last year was around $1,261, but again, still up from 2020. And the experience of paying more and more and feeling like prices are out of control and feeling squeezed translates to disaffection. And that disaffection is probably the single biggest advantage you can have as, say, the challenger to an incumbent president operating in a world in which prices have gone up. And yet, the Republican challenger, President Biden, isn't running on lowering prices. He's actually running on jacking up prices on a huge amount of the goods we use every day. And I know it sounds like I'm making this up, but genuinely, and I want to be clear here, his core economic policy proposal right now is an across-the-board consumer sales tax for every single good imported into the United States. Now, he may call it a tariff, but it will just be passed along to consumers in a sales tax on every single good that is imported. And again, you do not need to take my word for it. Just listen to Donald Trump himself.
Number one, I think we should have a ring around the collar, as they say. I think when companies come in and they dump their products in the United States, they should pay automatically, let's say, a 10% tax.
I'm a big believer in tariffs for two reasons. Number one, I fully believe in them economically when you're being taken advantage of by other countries. I would say to China, if you're building a plant on our border to build cars in Mexico and to sell them into the United States, I'm putting a 50% tariff on all those cars.
You used tariffs and sanctions against China.
I did, and I did very well with it. As you know, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes through the taxes and tariffs.
Is that what you want to do again?
Well, you have to do it.
Okay, if you are a single issue inflation voter, there is only one candidate who wants to put a 10% tax that will be passed along to consumers as a sales tax on every single good that's imported. And here's the thing, this is not a hypothetical. Trump did a miniature version of this the last time he was president when he put tariffs on different Chinese goods. Here's how that worked out. According to analysis by the New York Fed, the average import tariff rate more than doubled in 2018 alone. It tangibly led to higher domestic consumer prices. Take the first two tariffs on washing machines and steel. Economists found that consumer prices for washing machines, which have been going down steadily since 2012, almost immediately jumped back up after Trump's tariffs. In fact, the New York Times found that the washer-specific tariffs raised costs for importers like LG and Samsung. The steel import tariffs raised costs for some domestic manufacturers like Whirlpool, pushing prices up for consumers. Now Trump wants to do it again, but bigger, okay? Now, you can argue this is going to, in the long run, help American manufacturing. There's some argument on the other side of it. But in the short term, like, what's going to happen is the prices are going to go up. The Democratic Alliance Center for American Progress found that Trump's proposed new tariffs would cost typical households an extra $1,500 per year. Here's what that might look like. Trump is proposing a 10% tariff. If that 10% gets passed on to consumers, which is generally how it works, things will cost more. Now, we don't know exactly how much everything would cost, but you just add 10% on the back of the napkin. Here's the cost of living under the Trump tax. Start with groceries, which has been a site of a lot of angst, right? A dozen eggs costs about $3. Once you apply the Trump tax, that goes up to $3.30. And with the U.S. importing more than 4 million eggs a year, that could cost American consumers over $1.2 million. If you like oranges, those currently go for about $1.53 per pound. With the 10% Trump tax, it would be $1.68 per pound, which would cost American consumers almost $71 million for the nearly 500 million pounds that we import. Or how about bananas? We don't really grow them in the U.S., do we? They average about 63 cents per pound, going up to 69 cents per pound with the Trump tax. And thanks to the U.S. importing more than 10 billion with a B pounds per year, that could cost Americans $609 million. That's a $609 million tax on American consumers. Then there's tomatoes. They go for about $2.13 per pound. Apply a 10% Trump tax. They would be $2.34 per pound, potentially costing Americans $3.5 million, thanks to the 16.5 million pounds we import per year. The point is, if you were spending $1,200 a month on groceries, add another $120 to the bill. That's more than even the peak of inflation in 2022, which topped off at 9%. This is 10%, okay? And it's not just groceries. How about the refrigerator? You need to keep those groceries fresh. Right now, the average cost of a new fridge is about $1,300. With the Trump tax, that could go up to $1,430, costing Americans $1.95 billion for the 15 million refrigerators that we import. Again, that's a $1.95 billion in new taxes. What about the car you need to drive to the grocery store? On average, a new car costs about $48,808 today. With a Trump tax, it could cost $53,684, with Americans potentially taking a $66.3 billion hit across the more than 13 million cars we import. And that's not even with the 50% tariff that he says he wants to slap on imported cars, which would make it another $25,000. Even the smartphone in your pocket costs on average about $940 right now. With the Trump tax, that could go up to $1,034, with Americans potentially paying an extra $13.2 billion for the nearly 141 million smartphones we import per year. Everyone hates when you have to pay more for things. Inflation is one of the biggest vulnerabilities for a sitting president. And yet, here's Donald Trump in the year of our Lord, 2024, running against President Biden, promising to make things more expensive for every American.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.